Reason is it makes it easier for me to see. Because see, this 9 here cancels with that 9. This 2 cancels with that 2. And then this x cancels with one of these x's and still leaves me an x. So anytime everything cancels on the top, it's not 0, it's 1. Then I've got 3 times 3, which is 9, x, y squared. That's how I got my answer. Same thing here. It's the same process all the time, but you've got to be able to factor. This is 5x over x plus 2 divided by 10 over x minus 2. This really becomes this times the reciprocal of this, which is what I have here. Notice I broke the 10 down to 5 times 2, because what happens here is this 5 cancels with this 5. Nothing else cancels. So we get x times x minus 2 on top. We get 2 times x plus 2 on the bottom. Done. This is a little different. This is example 1 on page 362. This one says x over y squared plus 1 over y divided by y over x squared plus 1 over x. Okay, see, if you look at the 2 before, that's a fraction divided by a fraction. Fraction divided by a fraction. This isn't a fraction divided by a fraction. This is a sum of two fractions divided by a sum of two other fractions. So what we got to do is get the least common denominator, add these fractions, add these, and then we'll have a fraction divided by a fraction, and we go through our normal process. So if you look at this, the least common denominator is y squared. So that's the reason I multiplied this one by y over y. Least common denominator here is x squared. So that's the reason I multiplied this one by x over x. Remember, when you change fractions, whatever you multiply the denominator by, you got to multiply the numerator by the same thing. So multiplying this out, this becomes x plus y over y squared. This becomes y plus x over x squared. Now we're in the situation we want. Fraction divided by a fraction. So we're going to take the top fraction, multiply by the reciprocal of the bottom. Notice also, this was y plus x. I changed it to x plus y, which is perfectly okay. In addition, in sum, you can change the order. Doesn't matter. 2 plus 3 is 6. 3 plus 2 is 6. So what happens here is this x plus y and this x plus y cancel, which is what we have here and here. And so we get 1 times x squared on top, y squared times 1, we get x squared over y squared. Done. This is example 3, page 365. And it says x to the negative 1 plus 2 times x times y to the negative 1. Make sure you understand that the exponent only goes with the variable, the number in front. So that's really 2 to the first, x to the first, y to the negative 1, over x to the negative 2 minus x to the negative 2 times y to the negative 1. Now, you got to know your rules on exponents. There's 5 rules of exponents. You got to know them. Product rule, quotient rule, power rule, zero rule, and then the negative exponent rule. Remember, the negative exponent rule says that all I got to do is write the reciprocal of this and it becomes positive. So x to the negative 1 becomes 1 over x. 2 times x times y to the negative 1, the only thing that goes on the bottom is the y, because it's the only negative exponent. This becomes 1 over x squared. Both of these are negative, so it becomes 1 over x squared y. If you have to, review your exponent rules, which are found in the beginning of chapter 5. We didn't go over them because it is assumed that as you come into this class, you understand your 5 exponent rules. Also, you should be doing some worksheets on exponent rules, hopefully in lab. So what happens here is the top one, the least common denominator, is x times y. So if I want xy here, I got to multiply top and bottom by y. If I want xy here, I got to multiply top and bottom by x. Here, the least common denominator is x squared y. Well, I have an x squared, I just don't have a y, so I got to multiply top and bottom here by y. So this becomes y plus 2x squared over xy. This becomes y minus 1 over x squared y. Now we're in the position that we want to be, where we have a fraction divided by a fraction. So we're going to take the top fraction and multiply by the reciprocal of the bottom, which is what I have here. And you see that the y's cancel. I got a y on the bottom and a y on the top, so it's gone. I got an x on the bottom, and I got two x's here, so it leaves me one x left over. Okay? So what I have on top is I have x times y plus 2x squared. This is 1 times y minus 1, so I get y minus 1. And once again, I get x times y plus 2x squared, and all I have left on the bottom is y minus 1. Okay, here's example 4, page 365. This says parentheses 2x to the negative 1. That means the whole 2x is to the negative 1 power. This says 2, which is to the first power. And I would highly suggest you writing that 1 in there just to remind yourself. X to the negative 1. So this whole thing is negative right here. Only the x is negative here. So this becomes 1 over 2x plus 1 over 1. Now notice I've changed my 1 to a fraction. I made it 1 over 1. This becomes 2 over x minus 1 over 1. So what happens here on the top is the least common denominator is 2x. So I'm going to multiply this, the bottom by 2x, the top by 2x. That's going to give me 1 plus 2x over 2x. Least common denominator here is x. So I'm going to multiply the bottom by x, the top by x. This gives me 2 minus x over x. So now I'm in the position I want to be in. Fraction divided by a fraction. Which means top fraction multiplying the reciprocal of the bottom. So I'll get 1 plus 2x over 2x. This becomes x on top over 2 minus x. The only thing that cancels here are these x's. So we get 1 plus 2x on the top. And we get 2 times 2 minus x on the bottom. Now, I would prefer you leave things in factor form, so don't multiply this out. But if you were to multiply it out and get 1 minus 2x over 4 minus 2x, I'm okay with that. I would just prefer you leave it in factored form.